Uh, whoa. I was about to say, I'm Brent Leary. Then I saw an error occur, but it's on my own personal Facebook. So that really doesn't matter. Getting back to the regular scheduled program, I'm Brent Leary.
Paul Greenberg.
Now I'm live on Facebook. So that does mean we are the CRM Playaz.
I was going to say, if there's an error on your personal Facebook, then you're not Brent Leary anymore. That's how you determine your identity, right?
You're so right. If Facebook says I'm not Brent Leary, I don't know who I am.
Who's to argue?
Sven. That's who's gonna.
Oh,
And that's
Hebrew.
that's how he's gonna
Hebrew.
argue. All right. So
Oh
what is he
God,
saying?
I'm trying. You know how hard it is for me to still read Hebrew. Let's see. Wow, I don't know. I so that you have to read it first of all, right to left.
Oh
And,
wow, that looks like
and
an N.
it's supposed to be shalom, but it's not because it wouldn't end with that long thing. And then the little hangman's noose thing
The
is
hangman's noose.
I God, I don't remember.
Good question,
No,
Alan.
see, Alan, same thing. Hey,
Good
Alan, can you
question.
read the Hebrew of Sven's Hebrew?
Yeah, let us know what that means.
I can't
Well,
read it anymore. I now realize I've lost my skills in reading
does that
Hebrew.
mean they kick you out of the tribe?
No, nobody I know in the tribe can read Hebrew, right? So we that was something you stopped learning when you were 13.
Oh wow. Okay.
After your bar
Uh,
mitzvah, Hebrew was irrelevant from then on.
Okay.
For
So
me,
Sven,
for me.
we may need you to send the translation.
Well, Alan, maybe Alan can read it or even transliterate it.
The trans the tribe is having a little bit of difficulty here.
Yeah. Whew, Sven. I mean, one thing is it's Hebrew, but Yiddish. Oh, it's
What's
Yiddish.
Jiddish?
He means Yiddish.
Oh, okay.
He just Jewish. I guess he. Wow. I hope he doesn't mean that. Like Jewish Yiddish. Uh, no, it's Yiddish with a Y, Sven.
There it
Oh, that's
is.
probably yeah. Okay, I can't read it.
All right. So what does it mean?
I
Now that
have no
we've
clue.
determined the language of origin, what does it mean?
I can't read Yiddish, and I can't read Yiddish in the Yiddish. I never
What?
could. I can't read the. I can read Yiddish English
He
sometimes.
says
It's a
basically
good
it's a
one.
good one.
Okay.
It's a good what?
Hey, Alan, can you type the transliteration in too for me? Because I've never been able to read Yiddish in my entire life. A good
A
everyone.
good everyone.
I think he means
Okay.
like a good day for everyone. A
That's
good day,
cool.
everyone.
I like a
Well,
good everyone too.
thanks, Sven.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking up half the show.
Yeah.
And that's it for today. Where's Minnie?
It allows me to show off one of my Ram. By the way, did I tell you the Rams won the Super Bowl?
What?
I
No, I didn't know that.
got to make sure.
We should say that everywhere.
I will. Believe me, I will. All right. We're back. You know, we missed two straight Thursdays because 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, we did the keynote watch party for
Watch party.
Connections. So we took
That's right.
Thursday off. And then last Thursday, we were in Orlando at Variant Engage 2022. And now we're finally back where we belong.
That's right. At home. A guten jeder einem. A guten jeder einem. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. That's why I couldn't read it. It wasn't Hebrew. It was
I'm not
Yiddish.
gluten free.
And I can't
So
read Yiddish ever.
I don't know what gluten free. Anyway, can't remember the show where it takes. Come
Gluten
on,
free.
Spin. Hasn't been that long. But we're back. Glad to be back. But we were also. It was good to be out. Almost 2.5 full year. Actually, I think it was longer than 2.5 because if Dreamforce 2019, which I believe was in November of
Yep.
2019, so we
Yep.
did over 2.5 years between face to face live CRM Playaz events.
I know. Crazy, man.
But it felt, I mean, it was weird. It was like a little awkward, but it felt very comfortable all at the same time.
Well, doing the show was very comfortable. Producing and directing the show was not comfortable in the slightest since we had 15 hours of technical problems.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
No. I mean, imagine 2 industry analysts. Our main job was to hop in Uber to buy microphones at Best Buy. That's what we did at the conference.
Or
that's like our big event.
Try to troubleshoot audio problems for like 10 hours straight.
Yeah, and have 3 different systems fail us completely.
One being like a $12,000 unit or something like that.
Yeah, oh, that's right. The company pulled out an Allen and Heath 16-channel mixer, and they couldn't get it to work.
If they had pulled out an Allen and Bergson, it might have worked.
Oh, that always works. That's 100% successful at all times.
Yeah. So, but beyond the technical issues, we still had a good time.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was nice to see our friends. You know, it was, I mean, you know, for me, it was like seeing Ryan and Celia and Dan Miller and, you know, and Kate Leggett and people like that. It was just great. I got to meet, what's her name? Blair Pleasant? Blair Pleasant for the first time.
Was it a pleasant experience meeting Blair?
Yes, it actually was. She literally lives up to her name incredibly well. You know, people like that I'd never met. Got to see
we met
Sheila McGee and
Dan
action
Bodner.
again.
We did get a chance to briefly meet Dan,
who's a lovely guy.
Who we will be having on the show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, July 14th.
3 weeks. Yeah.
July 14th show. We'll have him, and we're going to have Dave Singer, the VP, a.k.a. Steve Rogers, or actually Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Dave Singer, for 15 minutes on that very same show.
Yeah. So the original plan was to do a live LinkedIn Live with Dan Bodner, CEO and founder of Verint, directly following the keynote. But unfortunately, all the technical difficulties, we couldn't pull it off. So we're going to have him on in 3 weeks from today. That'll be cool.
I'm looking forward to it. It was just terrific.
So, but it was fun. It was good to be out. I think they said they had over 1,000 people at the conference, which is really good.
And of course, to make everything perfect, as all conferences, a couple of the analysts came down with COVID.
But 2 of them didn't.
That's right. 2. The two that we're very certain didn't. We were right here, right now.
We were masked up, I'm going to say, about 85 to 90% of the time. We were masked up.
Yep. And we were not in big crowds almost all that time.
No, I made sure of that. I was masked the entire time for both flights there and back. Pretty much throughout the whole airport, I was masked.
Me too. Me too, entirely.
And so, good experience because we came home. We're out of the danger zone.
Yep.
We should be good to go. And looking forward to the next trip, which will be
July 25th or 4th and 5th?
Somewhere around
Zoho.
There. Zoho Day. Austin, Texas. It's going to be hot.
Well, not where I am because I'm going to be indoors in air conditioning all the time.
I am looking forward to it.
And I will reveal one thing. If all things go as planned, for those of you analysts who are on the fence as to whether to come or not, let me say time to jump the fence and come, because I am going to be hosting a bourbon tasting. Ooh. And let's say this, Zoho gave me a pretty damn decent budget to do it with, right? So there will be some seriously premium bourbons at this tasting.
What goes into a bourbon tasting, by the way? What makes for a good bourbon tasting?
good tasting bourbon.
So
That's pretty much it. I don't know enough of a bourbon to do a tasting like a pro does, but I can definitely. This is me doing a tasting. Oh, that's really good. You should try it.
no, you know what?
Whoa,
Remember,
that's better now. Try this one.
remember the bourbon tastings that Sandy organized for her previous employer? Not
Oh,
gonna-
yeah. You know why? Because I picked all the alcohol.
Yeah. But no, this is what I am expecting at the Zoho Day bourbon test tasting being organized by the venerable Paul Greenberg.
A kilt.
Kilts are a
Nope.
necessity.
It's
You
See,
will
that's
have
the
to
thing.
wear.
That was a Scotch tasting, not a bourbon tasting.
Oh.
It's financial for us. This is a bourbon tasting, which is a distinctly American drink. So I will literally be wearing what you see me wearing right now,
Oh man!
except no headphones.
I'm gonna have
Beyond
to
that,
ask them to make it a bourbon / Scotch tasting, so we
if
can get some.
yeah, but
some
I'm not
kilts
going to
up in
pick
there.
it. I get to pick all the alcohol, so there won't be any Scotch. So how's that going to work? Now there might be an Irish whiskey taste part of it. So if there is, I could always wear like a green hat and talk like a leprechaun.
That's not the same as a kilt.
And that's why I would never wear a kilt. Nothing worth seeing. Let's put it that way.
If anybody wants to see the venerable Paul Greenberg in kilts, put some comments in here. Let's get a campaign going. We need to do this.
And I will respond exactly the way I always respond to campaigns like that, which will be completely ignore your wishes.
All right.
The opposite of CX. I will go to PGX.
Wow. All right. We got stuff going on here. All right. So we are literally, about a week away from the end of June, beginning of July, which marks the first half of 2022 is pretty much in the books. Wow, that went pretty fast.
Yeah, way too fast, given that this is my last year earning income.
Wow. Well, you got a busy
Got
6 months ahead
to
of you.
go. I sure do. A lot of invoices to take and a lot of conversations to have.
So, thought maybe we'd spend a couple of minutes kind of looking back at the first half of the year.
Yeah, but I was a little nervous when I saw your
there's another
your
part
promo.
of that.
Yeah, that I which of course I had no idea about.
Are you referring to this?
Yes, exactly. It's a good thing I don't know who that is.
It looks like Paul Greenberg there. It looks like.
Yeah, but he's not on the show this week. He's
And
back at what's Meet Cute.
You know what? It kind of looks like he might be stumped. He's got his hand to his head and he's looking like he's trying to think of something there.
Believe me, the one good thing I can predict on this is that I won't know any answers.
So I doubt that. But anyway,
I'm
in a few
72,
minutes.
dude. My memory's not what it
minutes.
used to be.
In a few minutes, we will play this brand new game that's sweeping the nation, Stump the Godfather. And you notice I had to be very careful. I almost had Stomp instead of Stump, which would be not a very good game.
What are you guys doing out of my door? Ow!
Stump
How'd you get to
the
my house?
Godfather, not a good one.
Stamp? No. Stamp the Godfather? You just posted
Stamp
stamps
of
on my
approval?
forehead?
All right.
Still posted stamps on my forehead?
All right. So we're about halfway through the year. We've done a couple of watch parties. We've sat in on a bunch of virtual events, whether they be analyst events or user conference events. We finally went face to face last week, had a chance to talk, although you're not going to be able to see a lot of that because of the technical difficulties. But we did get a good chance to talk to a customer, some execs, some analysts. So we're 6 months in. Let's kind of take note of some of the stuff that happened the first 6 months. You know what? One thing. Oh, wait a minute. What's Christy saying here? I guess she's talking about Stomp
the Godfather.
The Godfather is not a good game.
But who's
I
the
tend to
great
agree.
group? Who's the great group?
I don't
The people who
know.
want to stomp me? So I don't like that they're playing the game, but the people who want to stomp you are fantastic people.
That's pretty rough. Anyway, so I want to throw out a couple of topics, some things that seem to resonate, and like the first 6 months, you couldn't kind of get away from this, and I still don't know where we stand with some of this. There has been a lot of focus on this whole idea of experience, employee experience, and how it equates to customer experience. It's carried through the first 6 months. Even we're talking about workforce management. It felt like it drew us back into how it affects EX and how that affects CX. So, in this 6 months that this has been going on, have you changed your opinion at all about how EX equates to CX? Because I've heard both sides of the conversation at this point. Some people think it's very tied together. Some people are like very loosely tied together. I've heard arguments that were kind of compelling on both ends. But what have you, this 6 months, this conversation, has it had any change, or has it made you change the way you look at this connection?
The answer is no, not a bit. Well, again, the
But
problem.
but
Yeah,
it's
I
all
know.
about the
I
light.
that's what Freshworks seems to want to say to us, right? So, and she mean I understand, Christy. You mean the group that actually did a Broadway stint too with Stomp. The group's name is Stomp, and it's an amazing kind of. I think it's what dance and percussion, and it's all kinds of stuff. It's really good. It's worth going online and taking a look at them. Um, Ultimately, it's the same as I always thought. Hey, Larry,
Hey, Larry, good to see you.
how you doing, man?
How
Too
about them
long,
Rams? Had to do
too
that.
long, dude. So, look, when it boils down to it, the biggest problem was never that there was a relationship between employee engagement and customer engagement, but it was the singular, linear, direct correlation, as if it was a one-to-one thing. Meaning, if you have remember, happy employees equal happy customers. Um, that was the problem. Not so much that there is some Of course, there's a relationship. You have miserable employees. It's going to they'll take it out on the customers at some point, or they'll show their lack of interest in the company. They won't be knowledgeable of what they need to because they can't stand working where they are. Whatever. But the reality is, even if they're happy, ecstatically happy, getting everything in life they want, your technology fails. Um, this is basically the result will be look, employee, I like you, but I'm never going to shop at your place again, right? I'm never going to buy anything from you guys again because I can't get, I don't know when things are coming. I can't figure out what's going on. I have no way of understanding what happened after I made this purchase. You're supposed to have shipped it 2 weeks ago. It hasn't shown up. Oh, well, that's a technology glitch. That's a carrier problem. No, it's actually the company's problem to deal with. And you could have an ecstatically happy employee working with the customer. It doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately, your company has to work as a company and have a culture to support whatever it takes to make both the employees and the customers happy. And that includes giving them the tools they need to do the work that aren't failing in the course of doing the work and aren't just a cost saving that they're using. So they're using something cheap that really doesn't benefit or help the customer either. So the net is happy employee doesn't necessarily mean happy customer. It's just one of the elements in the configuration. Nothing has changed for me one iota in years, much less months.
All right. Serious question. What
Oh, that was it.
is
That was funny. You thought that was a funny question? I didn't
all
exactly
right?
like. Oh,
What
yeah.
has
Yeah. I'll throw a cane in the top hat in at the end of these things.
what has a bigger impact on customer experience today? Happy employees, great logistics.
I don't. How do you equate those two? The
Which
answer
one do you?
is happy customers.
What makes customers happier? Happy employees or great logistics?
Good family lives. I don't. I don't. It's again. It's the same question, really. Both of them. There's no
I
one or the
know.
other. None of them makes one or the other happier. I mean, you have a failing supply chain. Well, I guess if you look, ultimately, the customer doesn't actually care about the happy employee, right? He's not sitting there thinking, "Oh God, I will be with this company because their employees are always so happy." They're going to say, "I will be with this company because I can buy what I need and get it," right? And so you don't get it, you're not going to be with the company. The employees may be ecstatic, again, super happy, but you have happy employees and you still don't get your product, they're not going to be staying with the company. And the company is responsible. Like when, think of it this way. When you have, let's say, Amazon, and Amazon ships something to you, or Amazon gets something shipped to you, either now in their case, they have their own agent, their own shipping company now. But prior to that, they used, the little one, those little guys, and then all the big guys. And if something showed up late or didn't show, what did you do? You went to the ship, you went to the carrier? No, you went to Amazon. They're
Mhm.
responsible. They're responsible for all of it, right? So ultimately, that company has to make sure that whatever it is um, that you have that you bought gets into your hands in a timely way, especially given whatever the expectation of that receipt is. Um, Period. Really. So if I had to say more emphasis, I really had to say, which I don't really. I mean, I don't have to say anything I don't want to really, but I would probably put it on logistics at this point, as far as the impact on the customer's desire to continue to to continue with the company that's involved, unless it's a service.
No, I've been thinking about. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but when you at least part of kind of the themes that have been going on a lot of these events, it's the kind of the growth of focus on employee experience, and you can cut that employee experience, workforce management, kind of come at it a different way, but also this focus on logistics and being able to kind of rearrange your whole abilities to engage customers by really providing a much better understanding and logistical kind of capability. So it feels to me like, yeah, it's great to focus on the employee experience, and of course you have to, but maybe what's having a bigger impact, at least in the short term, is really shoring up your supply chain and your logistical capabilities.
No, I agree. Look, I mean, I imagine there's some benefit to happy employees who then can help mitigate the problem the the logistics. But ultimately, let's even assume that happy employee handles something, gives you some sort of credit, does something really nice for you, and is and is able, empowered to do it, and so on, and that mitigates it. But if it happens a second time, all that benefit you gained from that happy employee was no longer there. I mean, you can't keep screwing up, on logistics and supply chain. I mean, supply chain has become so prevalent an issue that's become an answer to all problems. Like, why did my marriage fail? Supply chain, right? Right. So, it's like you have people who just coming out of their mouth. It's like incongruous for them to say the word supply chain, saying the word supply chain, right? So it's become obviously a global and incredibly well recognized issue, thanks to all the supply chain issues from COVID. And so I agree. This, especially at this time, I'd say that has more impact.
I would say, like you said, even getting that supply chain logistical digital transformation piece that actually makes both employees happy and I think customers happy. It's like maybe you hit that, it starts to impact everything, at least for the time being.
Yep,
All right.
absolutely agree.
Another theme, and I don't know if this is us and we're the ones kind of driving this, the media thing, the
Yeah.
this industry enterprise SaaS becoming, or at least adding a media layer, maybe becoming new media. You know how Draymond Green is always talking about he's now new media. Are we seeing an enterprise new media yet? Is it too early to predict 6 months into 2022? I ask this because we're getting close to a year into the Salesforce Plus. I think that was what, July of
July
last year.
last year. Yeah.
So we're almost at a year of that. We know HubSpot has the podcast network. We had a chance to talk to them earlier this year. We've been talking to Salesforce all along. There's some other, not in our particular industry, but other tech companies that seem to be doing that. Do you feel like it's picking up steam, or is it just us?
No, no, no. I mean, I think we just talk about it a lot, um, but there's a real thing there. Like, for example, completely out of our industry, I subscribe to this thing called this. It's called the Spirits Network. It's basically information about booze, basically, but they have a regular network of shows that they do on spirits, and every week I get a notification. Every week, so I think it's a week, maybe every two, but I get a notification. Here are some of the new shows you might want to watch. Here are the links, blah 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 blah, and a little bit of a newsletter associated with that. And I think especially among let's say the more advanced young content creators, they tend to think that way. They tend to think in terms of this media, not just a media strategy, but utilizing network capabilities to get across media in formats that people can consume issues. So Alan says we have sound issues.
I'm not
Take a
hearing
look.
any sound issues.
I'm not either. Alan has sound. Alan, can you elaborate a little bit while you're in the
That sounds
LinkedIn
like
notes, please?
last week.
No, that's what scared me. I said, "How we didn't get COVID? We got a disease called sound
It's
issues."
both of you, so maybe StreamYard. Wow.
What?
Anybody else hearing anything? Because
Yeah. Is anyone else out there? If you're hearing sound issues, let us know right away,
yeah,
please.
because I'm not detecting anything.
Me either. Nothing. Everything's working perfectly from what I can hear.
I'm getting. All right,
It
so
might be.
Christy, no sound issues.
Yeah.
Alan,
Anyone who's
get a new headset, man. You can afford it.
That's right. You can. So the company went public, right? So
Yeah.
uh,
User error.
yeah. So I think look what's interesting to me is I don't think it's very mature. Okay. But I
Right.
do think it's becoming more and more a part of how content creation is seen as how content distribution is being seen. This kind of thing is being seen more and more. So, for example, companies that have media strategies, like, for example, SAP has a brilliant social media strategy. They really do. And they always have. Now, do they think in terms of networks and shows? They, in limited ways, they do, but not really as a cohesive strategy. But when it comes to social media and the use of that, it's highly creative, very focused on moving things forward in a way that it hasn't often been. Pega has some part of that kind of intelligent media strategy that allows for content distribution in new formats. A perfect example of a company that doesn't have a digital media network but had a brilliant strategy was Creatio's launch event. That was brilliant at every possible
It was
level.
so well done.
I know. And they built their own events platform to do it. I mean, those are the other forms these things take now, and then you have the advocates for this stuff like John Reed, who is, if you want to look at what to do with hybrid events, go read everything John's written on Diginomica, because it is absolutely off the charts incredible. And
by the way,
I highly advise that you hire him or do something with him so that you can take advantage of his knowledge.
By the way, shout out to John. Hope he feels better. Shout
Mm.
out to our buddy, Digital Pestilence himself, Esteban Kolsky.
Who
Hope
managed
he
to get a
feels better.
pestilence?
Yes. Hope everybody feels better who has tested positive lately. There's a lot. So
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I think it's becoming more and more part of the thinking. I also think on the downside, there's an astounding amount of resistance still. It's not like everyone's opening their eyes and everyone's experimenting with little things. There are companies that just outright follow the same old thing over and over and over. They're still producing a million white papers and doing a trillion slide generated webinars. I don't even do webinars with slides anymore. I actually refuse them because they're a waste.
I don't think I have even sat in on like a traditional webinar in a year, maybe more at this point.
Oh, me either. I mean, well, to be honest, I didn't sit in on them when they were popular either. Right. So, but the thing is that that's what I think. I mean, I think, yes, we're in early stages. There is awareness and recognition. Some people are taking both advanced steps like Salesforce and HubSpot and tentative steps. And I'm even going to include Creatio in advanced steps in that case, because again, they've generated at a level that nobody's done. And then a lot of people taking smaller steps like SAP with the social media side, Pega with the production of a physical magazine and a rather colorful thing. I think Oracle is doing some really interesting research now on happiness and humor. And Rob Tarkoff was interviewed by USA Today on the happiness research. We're intending to have someone on the show to talk about that soon.
Yeah, Pharrell is going to join us.
Right, that's right. We're going to play his music. So, but the thing about that is, there's a book out that I highly recommend when it comes to that aspect, because people are recognizing now that, and this seems to be, Oracle is doing a very advanced work on this, is recognizing the value of entertainment and humor in actually advancing business interests. And so
Imagine that.
I know.
Who would have thought?
Oracle. No, that would not have been my first choice of companies. But you know what? It's the ones doing it first. And there's a book out called Humor Seriously. I'm going to apologize because I don't remember the second author, but the first author is Jennifer Aker. I not only highly recommend it, I wish I could have the ability to mandate the reading of that book. It is fantastic. And it really talks to how to bring humor in as part of your business, and the benefits are there. And the happiness research shows it, by the way. So that's the other element, is the cinematic and the humor and the entertainment value of all this. It's not a negative like a lot of traditional business people. They always have to be serious about your business and closing deals and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't actually. You're dealing with human beings who, like to laugh. So, well, most of them. So start bringing that into the thinking too. And it's actually in the thinking now. We're starting to see the beginning phase of that.
And I'm going to circle back to some of the happiness stuff in a few minutes. But moving forward, the other part of that is, I think companies that are getting ahead of it are starting to at least dip their toe in it. It's smart, because the other piece that maybe people don't focus on a lot when it comes to this media thing is that first party data relationship that is typically part of the strategy around this stuff. Being able to speak directly to an audience and being able to build your own direct channel. And streaming is, I think there's an estimate that by 2025, like 100% of people are going to have at least one streaming network that they subscribe to. So
how much?
100%.
Really?
at least one thing that channel you subscribe to.
Well, I guess I can see that.
Well, think about it. Remember yesterday in the happy hour, I asked, how many channels do you subscribe to? Streaming channels do you subscribe to now?
Yeah, and
I
it
think
seemed
was
like,
it Jody that said she had 8.
yeah, I probably have 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting to the point or we're very close, where more people subscribe and stream for their content than they get it from cable or their traditional over the top networks. I think that's how they say that kind of stuff. So if you're seeing the behavioral changes anyway around how people consume their content, even if it's in their private lives, it's carrying over. It's going to carry over. People are going to subscribe to more than just Netflix. Some people are going to subscribe to whatever the Netflix for business. I know Salesforce Plus kind of got that title, which I know we don't really go with. But at some point, business people are going to subscribe to business streaming channels. It's just going to happen. So why not start lining yourselves up? Because that's the way people consume content now.
Absolutely agree. And of course, we will have a very big announcement on that on July 18th.
July 18th. All right.
That will be the day.
Any other big themes? Those are 3 that I kind of got, out of a lot of this stuff.
Well, I mean, the no code thing, it's interesting. Low code, no code kind of evolved for the most part to no code. Although there's still some low code advocates, like I think Peg is both low code, no code now. Creatio, of course, is purely no code. But a lot of what you see out there, especially in let's call it the emerging companies who are doing well around that.
In that Zoho universe, too. They have
Zoho. Yeah, I think the newer companies are mostly no code, and they're pushing it that way. And I think Charlie Arau, who's our buddy, our analyst buddy, been on the show once or twice. Charlie actually wrote a piece the other day. I think it was yesterday, on no code. The no code revolution is what he called it. And again, I think that's another theme that I don't even think it's a revolution anymore. I think it's just part of what at least the technology companies are putting forward as how they want to start addressing business need. And it's just, and it's actually kind of breaking and when I say this with a lot of caveats in it. It's breaking the barrier down between developers and business users. Now when I say that, there's always going to be need for coders and developers. I mean, regardless of business users are not going to be developing Oracle CX and advertising solutions, let's just say, or platforms. That's going to be developers, right? But but I think though that there are, and what's happening is, and I'm not going to call it democratizing it because that is the most overused word in the technology world ever. Stupidest word that people can use because it's not democratizing anything. It's making it usable for people who don't have experience at it, right? And that's different than democratizing. That's a much more important word than what we're talking about. So, I think that's the trend is real. It's not even a trend. It's really just the part of what a lot of the technology companies are offering is the tools that business users can use to develop the kind of tools and solutions that they need to do whatever it is their job is, and do it in a timely way, and do it never going to be fully intuitive, but do it easily. And that's great. It really is. Microsoft was an early, when they had with Power BI, and I think you actually, what was it? You and Josh, didn't you guys develop an app using?
That was
guide years ago.
3-4 years ago.
Yeah, when it was earlier on, when the big companies weren't really pushing it. Microsoft was one of the first.
Yeah, with the
And
power
you
apps.
and yeah, Power Apps. That's right. You and Josh sat down and developed an app each with the Power Apps with some guidance, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It took
How
like
easy was that
15 minutes.
exactly? Yeah. Boom.
And
Oh,
it
that's a
connected into all the other Microsoft tools, like Power BI and the all the different apps that were built on top of those layers.
well. To Microsoft's credit, they were very smart about how they approached it. Power Apps came with Office for free, and what
Right.
you paid for was premium use of data. Right? There was
Yeah.
two or three. There were a few data sources that came for free, but if you wanted the full pipe, you paid. It was a premium subscription. It was smart.
Right.
That's how you do it. Tools, nothing. Data, monthly,
Yeah.
so to speak. Yep. So
I would
again,
say the other
why?
thing too. It feels like over the past 6 months, it feels like the integration of things like sustainability and DEI, they feel like they're coming closer to being part of the foundation of some of these organizations. It doesn't feel like it's a bolt on for some of these things.
Absolutely
I
right.
would say SAP did a really good job of talking about sustainability as being core to the business, not just something that is kind of circulating around, but it becomes a central pillar. A matter of fact, I think they did name it as a pillar
Yeah.
to their foundation at this point.
Yeah. Which I look. It took them a while over the years to figure it out, but they did. And to their credit, they because there's a balance. On the one hand, SAP was, in the past would push carbon footprint as a benefit for profitability, but they didn't push the carbon footprint reduction as a benefit to profitability, but they didn't push sustainability for the benefit of the earth. Then they went the other way and forgot about the business. This time, they've actually worked out the narrative in a way that they actually. The irony is they always used it in the right way, even though they didn't promote it and present it
Yeah.
in the right way. But this time they did present it in the right way, where they showed benefit to the earth, benefit to the business. Here's why you do it for good with a capital G and good with a small G, right? So, um, you know, and they're not the only company. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are. It's become. I'd say if you're picking all the let's call it loosely call them social issues, it might be the one that is most adopted by more companies than any other of them. Meaning, it's a front of the a top of mind adoption for almost a larger group of companies than almost any other initiative, except maybe, and this could be, you tell me what you think here, but maybe diversity in terms of top of mind, not in terms of success.
Yeah,
Um,
I think companies like Salesforce are definitely at the forefront. You feel like that has been not just this year; it's been baked in over the last several years. You saw like Tony Profit when he first came in as the chief equality officer,
right.
bringing him in, and that was what about 6, 7 years ago. I
At
can't remember.
least, yeah, maybe even
At,
longer.
right at first, he was kind of like standalone. There's kind of the Salesforce proper, and then there's DEI. But then, and you know where I'm going with this, about a year or 2 years into him being there, at maybe it was Dreamforce 2017 or 18 or something like that, he's doing a keynote presentation of, at the time, I thought, Salesforce is going full bore into the voice stuff. So remember he did
Yep.
the keynote demo of how Alexa was being used in this hotel. Had nothing to do with diversity, had nothing to do with equality. The only thing it had was he was the chief equality officer, but he was doing an out and out demo on the main keynote stage about this new technology direction the company was going in. And that's where I thought Salesforce is finally they got it because they combined the two. They didn't say, yeah, we're the business is here, but we also got this diversity thing going on. No, it was the chief quality officer doing a straight up business demo on their biggest stage of the year. That was a sign. Now I've seen more companies speak to it, but not nearly to that level.
Right.
And then the other one that I think we need to point out was just last week when we had the opportunity and the pleasure to talk to Samantha Thompson, who is a Variant customer from Black
Stanley Black
sure,
and Decker
Stanley Black and Decker
outdoors.
I had to say that because during the Variant conference, they had a women in technology panel, and apparently it was really good. We were struggling with our tech issues. We couldn't even think about going to anything.
We attended pretty much nothing.
Right. So we had a chance to talk to her and talk to her about that panel. And you could tell she was really very happy that they did it, that she was a part of it, that some of the things that were talked about were discussed in that forum. But the one thing, and I think it was a big thing that she remembered about that session was that I believe she said there was only one male in the entire audience for that session, which tells you there's a lot that still needs to be done. It needs to still be created in a way that it is central, and so that more than one segment of the population is participating. So there's still ways to go to that, but I like that I am seeing more and more focus being put in these areas, and not just focus, but the integration of these areas integrating into the core of the business.
Well, it's interesting. I was just thinking on the opposite side of that, one of the great male evangelists for women in tech is Charlie Isaacs, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
That guy is
He's
constantly awesome. Helping and supporting and promoting, and he doesn't do it because I'm a guy. I need to. It's not like that with Charlie. Charlie's doing it because he deeply believes it's the right thing to do. He's one of the best humans in the industry. For those of you who don't know him, he's the chief technology officer for the connected customer at Salesforce, and literally one of the best people in the whole industry, bar none, as a human being.
Absolutely.
So, but that he's like, I'll put it this way: he's the optimal male when it comes to that. And I'd be curious as to who the one male in that women in tech panel was.
Would love to hear what he thought.
Yeah, I mean that is, look, all the guys were up drinking at the bar, at the Rocks bar at Hyatt Regency. No, I mean, I agree with you. There's tons of work to be done, but look, all throughout human history, period. On the one hand, you look at the vastest, biggest arc of human history, and you realize that humanity's been successful, actually, overall. And we have even though the planet seems very crowded and so on, we are increasingly able to increase the population numbers more and more by the technologies and advances in agriculture and in industry and science, so that there's better food, more food, longevity's been increased, and societies are growing. Now, with every advance comes the negatives too, and that's just the arc of humanity is just that way. So even if we got to perfection on all these things, we have a whole new set of problems to be dealing with, and that's fine. It is what it is. I think the one thing that, just as a general philosophical point, people have to understand that things do actually, as impatient as we are to solve them now, they take time to solve. Just because we're not just one person. Everybody's an individual working in a different way, trying to understand something differently, thinking differently, acting differently, and then trying to combine with others who are completely different to do something and accomplish something together. And that takes time.
Absolutely. All right. 10 minutes ago, it's time
I was doing my best to filibuster my way through this.
to stump.
Oh,
the
wait a minute. I
Godfather.
have to talk about Senate
No.
Bill 2024.
No. Stump
need
the
to.
Godfather time. Now, I
2024.
just kind of saw a couple of different kind of surveys and studies and things, data points. I thought it'd be cool to just see, how much you know about some of this data that's coming out about.
Oh, I can tell you how much I know about it. Generally, nothing.
So, very simple. We pose a question. We ask the Godfather the answer, and we see if he's.
I assume I don't know is a legitimate answer.
No. You can take a guess.
This is
take a guess.
This is really wild guessing with the Godfather. Okay.
Here we are. All right. Now this shout out to Mike Fawcett. He literally.
I haven't had even. That's not fair, man. I got the report today and I didn't get a chance to even open it yet.
That's why I figured I better ask you now.
Well, I'll just go open it now and look.
All right. Now this is according to Statista, the digital subscription market worldwide was around 650 billion in 2020 and is projected to grow to what?
See, we're in
by
billions
2025?
Here, right? 1.1 trillion. I am literally making that up out of no knowledge at all.
Is that your final answer?
Yes. I have no clue. Well, I wasn't that far off.
1.5.
Yeah, well, I'm only 400 billion off.
Well, you ever take a couple hundred billion?
Yeah.
Does that number sound right? I don't know.
Well, it's staggering either way. I have no idea. Again, I have no idea how Statista does any of its research. I just take it for granted that they have a method. But right. I don't know.
Okay. And anybody who wants to play along, drop your
I will not respond for a minute or so while you put your answers in if you want to.
Okay, so now let's see. Oh, well, I can't do that one.
The answer is 78%.
Can't do that. So this is coming from the Oracle happiness thing that you pointed out earlier.
Yeah.
All right. Did you get a chance to read that, by the way?
I didn't read that stat, but I've read most of it.
All right, so we'll see. All right. So what percentage of business leaders fear using humor in customer interactions?
I don't know. 64%.
64%?
No, I'll do a Gartner. I'll do a Gartner one. 64.73821%.
64. Well, just round it off. 64%. Or 65.
The problem with this is if it's below that, I don't believe it.
Okay. The answer is, drum roll. That wasn't really a drum roll.
Yeah, not much of a drum roll. 95%.
95% of business leaders fear using humor. And what the hell? Why do they fear it so much? That's crazy.
That is a ridiculous number. I mean, I don't doubt its accuracy. I'm just saying, what is there to fear about? You know what it is? Failed stand-up comic. You remember the way I posed it in the acknowledgments of my book? How I said, because in the acknowledgments of the Commonwealth Self-Interest, I talk about. I said, well, I've always wanted to be a stand-up comic. But I knew one bad joke and my career's over. So I became a CRM person because if I said a bad joke, they would go, well, of course it's a bad joke. He's a CRM guy. His jokes suck. Right. So It's pretty much
tough crowd.
I think that's what this is. They're afraid that their jokes would fail.
But 95%, that's pretty That's
Well, that means
ridiculous.
they're just lousy comics.
They have no
They're not
sense of humor.
funny. These are people who are not funny.
Ridiculous. Christy
That's a
says that explains a lot about the business community these days.
except for the players community.
No
We're all
sense of
funny.
humor.
We
All
are
right,
all funny.
let's keep it moving. What percentage or what percent are more likely to remember ads that are funny? So, what percent of
78.
consumers are more
No,
likely to
80,
remember ads?
84, 86.
86?
Yeah.
86.
If it's below that, something's wrong. below
Here
that.
is the answer.
90. It's close. That makes sense.
Why is that so small?
That's just a statistic. Let me say the word right here. That's just a statistical representation of a well-known kind of fact that people retain humor, right? And they do genuine. The problem with that, though, and there is a little bit of a problem with that stat, because I've seen supportive stats that basically say they remember that the ads are funny, but they don't remember what the ad was.
They just remember it being funny.
Like a funny ad about a car. Remember, like,
Right.
okay, Icelandic tourism had a really funny ad with horses, right? And it was really funny and very memorable. I remember what it's about because I've shown it about 10 times, but and it's a 54-second ad. And it's really funny and it's really memorable. But I guarantee in 3 months after you see the ad or 6 months after you see the ad, you'll think, yeah, Icelandic tourism had this really funny ad with horses about something.
But
right?
Because you remember
Icelandic tourism.
the ad that the Icelandic tourist commercial was funny, even if you don't remember exactly why.
Again,
does it make you look forward to if somebody said, "Hey, there's a new Nordic whatever ad"? Does that mean you'll probably look forward to it because you remember the last one being funny, even if you don't know exactly why it was funny?
If you remember the sponsor, the answer is yes.
Okay.
If you don't, it's just an ad that was funny using this that had Steve Martin in it or something.
Right.
You remember, say, the comic in it, but you don't remember who sponsored the ad. Those were long-standing studies that have been around.
Okay. So 90% are more likely to remember ads that are funny, but business leaders said that only 20% of their brands' offline ads actively use humor. So they're just completely missing the boat here.
Well, 95% of them fear, using humor. So not shocking on that one. I look to the point we made way earlier. They better understand right now that humor and entertainment and making people feel good is and do memorable things like that are what they're going to have to think about in the coming months, without a doubt.
Okay. All right. So I got another one.
Okay.
But I can't post it because the answer is on this slide. So, in addition to the happiness study, I actually did a study with Oracle that was released May around how people are, what their feelings are towards brands versus social influencers and things of that nature. So, what percentage of the 1,000 people who answered the survey said they trust social influencers more than they trust brands?
I mean, my problem is I don't trust either of them. Right.
You had to choose one or the other.
No, I would. Wow. The reason it depends on, this is where I get into nuances. It depends on what's being defined as a social influencer, because there's an enormous number of them that are paid for, right? So
just somebody like, who's the guy?
You mean
who's the guy that you like for audio on YouTube?
First Judge. Gotcha. If it's that
He's
kind of person,
that's what I'm talking about.
I'd say 81% more social influencers than
So basically, 4 out of 5
would
choose the
trust if
social
I would.
influencer over the. Okay,
Yes, I'm one of them.
is that your answer? Is that your final
Yes,
answer?
yes.
Okay, and here is the actual number:
Oh, that little.
1 in 3
That's a terrible number. You
social
people
media
crazy?
influencers over brand.
What's the matter? You people crazy? What kind of respondents did you get? God.
One out
You
of three.
realize that brands only are speaking in their own interest, period.
Well, yes.
And if social media influencer is talking about a brand, unless they're bought and paid for, then they're speaking about what they think about it.
So, just to show the importance of who they trust. So, those who trust influencers over brands are 2.3 times more likely to say they would not do business with a company who doesn't offer a digital self-service option.
Uh,
2.4 times more likely to say influencers were their primary purchasing influence. Two
that's
times more
also
likely
stupid.
to 2 times more likely to purchase something in direct response to content they viewed on TikTok. And I'll just jump to the last one. Almost 1.8, almost 2 times more likely to prefer engaging with TikTok influencers over speaking with a customer
Well,
service
that
agent.
is a lunatic. That person's a lunatic. That was a survey respondent under 12 years of age. Right? I'm sorry. There's
Well,
some things in this that are ridiculous.
18 to 80 was the age.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you had a bunch of young children lying about their
Well,
age.
that is, we did skew it a little bit to the millennials.
No, I'm
and
just
the Gen
saying you
Zs.
had people. No, I mean you literally had 12-year-olds. Clearly,
Okay, moving along. All right, as you can see there, 4.29% of boomers who were surveyed said TikTok is their favorite social media platform. What guess would you have for Gen Z in terms of?
I don't know. This one, given what I just saw, I don't care. That was
Okay,
well. I'm sorry, man. When I see somebody who's literally making a purchase decision only based on what a social media influencer
didn't
says
say
about it,
only, just said
well,
based.
it
Could have,
kind of says primary,
yeah,
right? I mean,
that
to me,
not
there's
only
like
but primary.
you take 5 or 6 different things into account. None of them are primary. They're all part and parcel of the overall effort, right? And
Okay.
then you trust a TikTok influencer or customer service. That's where the brand does have the advantage, right? Which is they have people who
Well,
are
maybe not.
hopefully, well, TikTok influencers, let's say this, are not going to solve your problems for the brand unless they're going to flame the brand on
Okay,
your behalf.
let's move along.
Well, I'm
So
sorry, man. I just
you don't have a guess?
nope. I'm not even going to guess on this one.
The answer is
Yeah, I would have guessed a
so
little higher,
1 and
but
4.
I would have guessed higher than that. But that makes sense.
Well, think about how many social media platforms there are out there.
I know. I'm curious to what the favorite is for Gen X and millennials. Boomers, I don't care really. Well, it doesn't really matter what art we're. Most of us are checking out, So, what our favorite social media platform is doesn't really matter much. But
Well, I think that the story that's told here is every generation is almost like a doubling in how much they
it's
choose
almost. You're
TikTok.
right. It's almost literally. Well, Gen X
Not between Gen X and
one and a
millennials,
half. Yeah, one and a
but
half.
boomers and Gen X and mills and Gen Z. And of course, it's a 5x over
Look,
5x.
if I think TikTok is brilliant, I do. You
By
know
the
that.
way,
But
sorry, Sven, I just saw your guess. It's
see,
38.
I would have
Not a big
guessed
guess.
more in Sven's range than that. I would have.
I
I would
bet
have
a
guessed
year
more
from
towards Sven.
now, it'll be interesting to see what it is.
Yeah. Sven
All
and
right.
I would have been right there.
Okay. All right. So I picked this one up. You know, Salesforce just announced this partnership with TikTok,
Yeah.
Commerce Cloud. And one of the little stats on their slide was how many active monthly users TikTok has. Do you care to
I'm
guess?
not going to answer that because I literally had a briefing with that slide. Right. So I don't
So
really
you
want to
remember?
answer.
All right,
Yeah, I
I'll
do.
just
But it's, yeah.
so it's a billion plus. TikTok, who 3 years ago I wouldn't even know what the hell it was, already has a billion monthly active users. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. And I don't doubt it's even higher now already.
By the
That
way,
platform is just massive.
Sven has a serious question. He says, "Well,
Well, Sven, is kind of both, really.
I hate
We
when
have a
Seward goes off."
brand, which is CRM
Hello.
Players, but we have impact, hopefully. And that's the influencer part. So it's not really one or the other. They're not always dichotomies, right? Or no, let me rephrase that. They're not always distinct, right? We have a brand that also has influence. I mean, again, I'm probably patting us way too much on the head with that one, but even so, if you're viewing it from the standpoint, we have a brand, CRM Players, and the brand is recognized as me and Brent. Okay, the two of us. It's not Paul Greenberg. It's not Brent Leary. It's both of us, right? That's the brand. We each have our own individual brand. Brent has his, I have mine, and that's different. But as CRM Players, we actually have, let's call it, a somewhat different influence than we would have as individuals, or that we do have as individuals. So we kind of fit both. And I don't think that there's always a distinction that's, clear cut. So my answer is both.
Okay, that is the correct answer,
Awesome. What do I
and
get?
that wraps up the first ever,
That's what I get.
last,
A wrap up.
a possibly last edition of Stomp. Wait a minute. Yeah, Stomp. No, Stump. Stump the Godfather.
Yep. The first and last edition. You've gotten it, and that is correct too.
By the way, Sven loves your answer.
Thank you, Sven. And just remember, Sven, I love you too.
In Yiddish. All right. So we will be back next Thursday. Do we have a guest? I think we do have a guest,
Yes, we do.
but I'm going to keep
Wait,
it private for the time being.
does that mean we really don't have a guest?
No, think of what I just said. Private.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I got it. Oh my God, I am dense. I am really dense. Yes, we do have a guest next week.
And he is a great guest, funny guy, intelligent, all that stuff.
Yes, he is.
But we're going to keep it private for the time being.
The only thing we can tell you is don't confuse him with one of the 50.
One of the 50.
50
Huh?
states.
Wow. Whoa. Okay. I got it. I got it.
Subtle, and all of
Very
you can stay completely confused till next week when it will
absolutely.
become clear.
But one thing we will not be keeping private,
Minnie.
and you know what happens? Minnie gets the last say, and we will talk to you next week.